Welcome. This is Your Environment. I'm Deborah Drum, Ecosystem Restoration Manager for Martin County. Everyone in Martin County knows that clean water is essential for our way of life. Maintaining the health of our rivers, lagoons, and estuaries is vital to our economy and lifestyle. Martin County is committed to preserving this precious resource and does so in a multitude of ways. In this edition of Your Environment, we are focusing on the ways Martin County is maintaining the water quality of our local waterways. We will show you some of the things that we are doing to help maintain the life and vitality of our rivers and estuaries. In the last 13 years, Martin County has invested with our partners over $52 million to complete 26 water quality improvement projects. These projects are designed to reduce the amounts of nutrients and contaminants that come from our own backyards, as well as our larger watershed, and make their way into our precious waterways. With several projects finished and many more on deck to be completed, we sent Bob Hoganson to a completed stormwater treatment project at Tropical Farms on the shores of the South Fork of the St. Lucie River to show us how these treatment areas work and how the public can enjoy them.
It may look like a park with its winding paths and long boardwalks. It might act like a park with its picnic shelters and fire pits. But what is going on here is so much more than picture-perfect views, diverse wildlife, and natural beauty.
This is a stormwater treatment area. Typically, they're designed to be about 18 inches to 2 feet deep.
Greg Nolte, project manager for the Ecosystems Restoration and Management Division for Martin County, recently gave a tour of the Tropical Farm Stormwater Treatment Area, located on the shores of the South Fork of the St. Lucie River.
An STA is a stormwater quality treatment area, and it is designed to allow stormwater to flow through it at a very slow rate, and the vegetation, it's typically planted with vegetation, both emergent and submergent plants, and that plant life absorbs the nutrients as the water flows through it.
This stormwater treatment area, or STA as it's called, sits on 17 acres inside Phipps Park and is designed to capture and clean stormwater from the neighborhood before it makes its way to the estuary.
The watershed that drains and contributes to this project is 468 acres. So we're capturing water off of 468 acres, and we're trying to capture, and we have captured, that first inch of runoff. And like I said before, that first inch is the most important because it has all the nutrients, it has all the pollutants in it.
Phosphorus and nitrogen are the primary nutrients that in excessive amounts can pollute our waterways. The nutrients are produced by a variety of ways, including fertilizer and horse and cow waste. If too much of these elements make their way into the rivers and estuaries, it can have a negative impact on the quality of the water.
In the early years of development, the idea was to drain the land as quickly as possible and get that runoff from the land into the river and just drain it. And through the years, we've found that that's not necessarily the best thing for water quality. And to clean the water, you need to capture it, you need to hold it, you need to clean it, and then discharge it at a slower, more natural rate to the estuary.
The water in the neighborhood actually wants to flow towards Roebuck Creek, but with a specialized pipe system and control structures installed, rain runoff is fed back into the project where it can be cleaned. Water enters the project behind me over here in the deep water basin. It's about 8 feet deep of water that helps collect a lot of the sediment that comes in from the neighborhood. The water then flows very slowly under this footbridge over here to the stormwater treatment area. Here the water is about 1 foot deep and has a bunch of plants that filter out the nutrients. This process happens a couple more times as the water snakes around over here till it exits at Roebuck Creek. That whole process to get water from over here to over here takes about 40 days.
And we've seen 54% removal rates for nitrogen, which is excellent. Typically anything over 40% is very good. We're at 54. For total phosphorus, anything over 60 to 80% is considered very good. We've seen in excess of 90% removal in phosphorus in this particular project. So it's working, but Greg says there is more to do. Residents may not realize it, but they too are contributing to the pollution. Over-fertilizing can cause elevated levels of nitrogen in the water table. Also, decaying plant and grass clippings need to be disposed of properly. Landscape trimmings that are piled up in the swale here, and the water wants to drain, stormwater wants to drain here. The vegetation's sitting in water.
He suggests homeowners put their clippings on higher ground away from swales and drainage.
That material sits there for 2 or 3 days. It's wet and it starts decaying, and all those nitrogen and phosphorus is released from that material and gets right into the drainage system.
There are a total of 26 STAs in Martin County that function much like tropical farms, capturing water and naturally filtering it. But to meet certain water quality targets by 2028, set forth by the state and federal government, Martin County has also explored new technologies to address water quality problems in an efficient way.
The water from Bessie Creek is coming from a over 2,600 acre watershed that's mostly equestrian community out here.
Diane Hughes, Senior Ecosystem Specialist for Martin County, shows the new alternative technology project up and running at Bessie Creek.
The water is being pulled in from the pump station down Boat Ramp Road, coming in through this facility right here. And this is where it comes in contact with aluminum sulfate that precipitates out the phosphorus and nitrogen in the water.
The Bessie Creek Hybrid Wetland Treatment Technology Area, completed in April of 2015 and funded in part by a grant from the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, is also an STA, but uses an added chemical treatment component that achieves more of a reduction in nutrients and requires a smaller land footprint, reducing costs for land acquisition.
This is all the flocculant. That's the aluminum sulfate is binding with the phosphorus and the nitrogen and then taking it out of the water column, making the water cleaner.
The flocculant, which will dry to a substance like kitty litter, can then be disposed of, thus removing most of the nitrogen and phosphorus from the water supply. Anything remaining will be filtered out naturally through the rest of the STA.
With traditional wetland treatment systems, we're not going to be able to hit our target. With these combined chemical treatment with natural native wetland treatment systems, we're getting closer and closer to meeting our target for 2028 for our water quality treatment goals that we need to meet.
Martin County has already met its first 5-year goal of the 2028 plan and is not done with these projects. Another hybrid wetland treatment technology area is currently in construction at Danforth Creek.
These two creeks are two of our most polluted water bodies in Martin County. So to have these facilities on these two creeks before the water enters the St. Lucie River and estuary helps us meet those water quality targets that we're trying to hit.
Thanks for that report, Bob. In addition to the stormwater improvement projects and alternative treatment technologies, Martin County has also been proactive in looking for other ways to prevent pollution from entering the estuary. Recent studies by Martin County and Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute find that some pollutants from septic tanks are making their way into our waterways. Martin County has spearheaded an effort to convert those neighborhoods on septic tank systems to a cleaner, more efficient regional sewer system, resulting in vast improvements to our local water quality. Gabriela Ferrara reports on Martin County's mission to clean up septic tanks.
We looked at this problem lagoon-wide, all the way from Ponce Inlet to Jupiter Inlet. And then what we found, just like the study we did here in Martin County today, is that sewage nitrogen was the primary source of nitrogen fueling these algae blooms, lagoon-wide.
Dr. Brian LaPointe is a research professor at Harbor Branch FAU. He recently completed a study for Martin County that showed the relationship between those algae blooms in the Indian River Lagoon and nutrients or pollutants from septic tanks.
We've known about this problem of septic tanks for many decades. So it's time to begin cleaning up the problem in the worst areas, these hot spots where we know we have high densities of septic tanks with high water tables and poor soil conditions, where this problem is the worst.
And Martin County has been doing just that. Since the 1990s, the Martin County Utilities Department has eliminated 70 package plants. 50 of these septic systems were considered a threat to the lagoon. By removing these package plants, the county has prevented nearly 6 million gallons per day of polluted water from entering our waterways. In addition, the county has completed 8 projects in Jensen Beach, Golden Gate, and Palm City to provide sewer service to over 1,700 properties, once served by septic tanks.
It took a long time to get to this point, and it's not going to be solved overnight. But the important thing is to follow the science and to all work together to go after the major nitrogen sources. And in urban areas, that is typically sewage nitrogen.
Martin County recently conducted extensive research to identify the sites of greatest concern regarding potential pollution from septic tanks. Chemical and/or biological markers and elevated bacterial counts were detected at some of these sites. The presence of a human fecal source marker was detected at sites located in Golden Gate and in the All-American Ditch in Old Palm City. The combination of consistently elevated counts of fecal coliform bacteria and the detection of sucralose, an artificial sweetener, suggests inadequately treated human wastewater may be present. Dr. LaPointe says these nutrients, a problem on their own, can also compound the issues associated with Lake Okeechobee releases.
We do have a problem with Lake Okeechobee discharges. We have fresh water coming from the lake carrying contaminants, including these algal cells, this toxic algae that grows in fresh water. But when that organism gets into the St. Lucie estuary, the bloom is supported by sewage nitrogen. So we have two problems. We have a Lake Okeechobee problem, and we've got a septic tank problem.
This year, Martin County updated a report that prioritizes areas in need of septic to sewer conversion. The current report provides cost estimates for communities located along the St. Lucie estuary and Indian River Lagoon. The Board of County Commissioners is currently reviewing the findings of the Harbor Branch report and is moving forward with the proposed septic to sewer connections to help keep our water clean.
Well, the recommendation is to do a couple things. First, we need to look at the hot spots where we have the biggest problems with septic tanks and start there.
Thank you, Gabby, for that report. Sound science is an important basis for making good decisions on water quality solutions. The Treasure Coast is fortunate to have highly regarded technical institutions to help in this effort. The county is excited to have united with partners, Florida Atlantic University Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, the Ocean Research and Conservation Association, and the Florida Oceanographic Society in our regional efforts for clean water. Bob Hoganson had a chance to visit with these partners, and he shows us some of the exciting and innovative ways that scientists and volunteers are helping maintain and restore the health of our waterways.
And we're going to form a bucket brigade, pass the bags to each other.
On a hot and humid Saturday morning, Dr. Vincent Encomio leads a team of volunteers at Indian Riverside Park.
This is the Indian River Lagoon. It's the most diverse estuary in North America. It's home to over 4,000 species.
As Director of Scientific Research at the Florida Oceanographic Society, Dr. Encomio knows the water quality of the Indian River Lagoon is not what it used to be. The waterway that stretches for 156 miles between Jupiter Inlet and Ponce Inlet near Daytona Beach is unique and beautiful, and in trouble. Due to many reasons, the health of the lagoon has deteriorated. That's why once a month, he directs volunteers to restoration projects along the shores. Today, they are placing oyster shells in the lagoon to create reefs.
It's been known for quite some time now that oysters are able to filter a lot of water, which means they have an important function in cleaning water in our estuaries.
And one oyster can actually filter about 50 gallons of water a day, but they're in short supply in the St. Lucie estuary. From a high of about 400 acres of oyster beds in the 1970s to only 100 acres today, the changing water conditions have limited their natural growth.
Baby oysters that have a larval stage that lasts about 2 or 3 weeks, at the end of that larval stage, they're in the water column swimming around trying to find a suitable place to attach to and then eventually grow.
And these bags of oyster shells, collected from local restaurants, provide the landing spot these baby oysters need to survive and grow. Volunteers here are placing about 1,000 bags of these oyster shells today. They hope to create about 200 extra square feet of reef here in the lagoon. It's a slow process, but one that seems to be working. Since 2009, Vincent and his volunteers have created about 30 acres of new living reefs from these bags.
Those reefs that they create, not only do you have that filtration capacity, but the reef itself creates habitat for numerous organisms.
After spending time with Dr. Encomio bagging and then placing the shells in the water, it's easy to see why so many are so passionate about these miraculous mollusks and how important they are to the vitality of the lagoon. But scientists will tell you, while it's easy to recognize that the estuary is hurting, the question is, why? While we are learning some of these answers, there has never been any long-term empirical data on what is happening geophysically in the water, until now.
This is an example of what the Indian River Lagoon used to look like when it was healthy and you had healthy seagrass growing in the bottom of it. And this is what it's like today. That's actual muck pulled out of the North Fork of the St. Lucie River.
Dr. Edie Witter, biologist and CEO of the Ocean Research and Conservation Association, or ORCA as it's called, has spent decades researching marine ecosystem degradation.
There's a lot of problems the full length of the lagoon.
She noted several years ago that nobody was taking 24-hour-a-day measurements of the water conditions in the lagoon, an important piece of science to determine what is actually happening in the water.
Well, you have to be able to quantify what the problem is. So it's just like when you go into an emergency room and you've got a problem, doctor slaps monitors all over you.
Enter the Kilroy. Named after a pop culture expression during World War II, the water quality monitor, a little larger than a football and easily moved when needed, is anchored to a piling in a body of water.
They measure flow speed and direction so you can figure out where the pollution's coming from, depth, salinity, temperature.
Currently, there are 22 Kilroys in the Indian River Lagoon that are online. 8 are in the Martin County area, sending readings every few minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Even more are expected to be placed in the next coming years.
Kilroys were designed to be able to monitor as many things as we possibly could to try to figure out what's wrong and then what we need to do to fix it. And the cool thing about Kilroys is we made them small so that they can go into these canals that are so much a part of our problem.
Most of the Kilroys are funded by the state legislature, a few others by other entities such as the Florida Oceanographic Society, but all of the data is managed by ORCA and made available to the public. With this data, scientists are able to pinpoint a source of pollution, and researchers can begin to address the problem more specifically.
Well, this is the Indian River Lagoon Observatory Lab, and our primary work here, it has to do with the Lobo unit. And we have some pieces right over here on our lab bench.
Similar to the Kilroy is the water monitor called a LOBO. It stands for Land Ocean Biogeochemical Observatory. There are currently 5 LOBOs in the Martin County area, also paid for by the state. The LOBOs take similar readings to the Kilroy. All these pieces here all form the LOBO component that send data back to you guys so you can read what's going on out there.
Right, we can read it, but so can everybody else. That's the important thing, is that all of the data are available real time.
Dr. Dennis Hanasak, research professor at FAU Harbor Branch, agrees that through taking strategically placed scientific measurements, we'll learn more than we ever knew.
Yeah, the reality is our local environment is never going to be what it was. It's always been changing, but the changes have really accelerated in recent years, and everybody wants to do the best we can for the lagoon. And to really do that, though, I think we need to have a good baseline of environmental data.
Data needs to be collected so that informed decisions about the future of the lagoon can be made.
So we see ourselves as being people that will provide the information and the data, so all of us can decide, what's happening. Is the lagoon getting better or not? And is it something that we should do more or not?
To see real-time readings for yourself, you can check out Kilroy data on ORCA's website at teamorca.org, or for LOBO data, you can find that information at fau.loboviz.com.
In this episode of Your Environment, we highlighted Martin County's commitments to improving water quality through actively engaging with partners to build projects that clean water. There is certainly more to do, and we can't do it without community support, awareness, and strong partnerships. As we continue to make progress, we can celebrate our collective success as a community to protect our local water quality. If you are interested in volunteering to help make a positive difference in Martin County's environment or to seek more information, please contact us at www.martin.fl.us. I'm Deborah Drum. Thanks for watching.